player has the option between these 3 starter Pokemon, and right out of the gate you can tell that all 3 of these are super unique. The first stage of the Grass-type starter is super cute, and it's actually supposed to be a cross between a Hedgehog and a Durian, which is super creative, but it works really well. The middle stage starts to get a bit more of a bulky design, and it even looks like he has a cowboy hat on top of his head. And the final stage is incredible. It's like this bulky, spiky cowboy with this amazing design element of these vines coming out of both of its wrists. There's also a mouse at the end of the vine, so I'd like to imagine that this thing fights sort of like Spider-Man, using those to hook around and move around as well. It's also got a cowboy theme, so maybe it uses them as a lasso. Either way, just being able to look at this design and picture how and this is so perfect. The first stage of the Water-type starter has a personality that I feel like we haven't seen on a Pokemon except maybe Sobble, and that's that this Pokemon actually looks super sad. It kind of reminds me of Eeyore. The middle stage is Water Poison type, and it seems to have weaponized its depression. It has these poisonous tears coming out of its eyes, but more importantly, its trunk now looks like a poison blaster. So again, just by looking at this Pokemon, you can kind of imagine how it would battle. Just like the Grass-type starter, this final stage is incredibly unique. It's this huge elephant with this long tentacle hair and this ginormous trunk that looks like it would spill out this poisonous gas onto the battlefield. I love this design. I feel like we've never gotten a starter that looks like this. First stage of the Fire-type starter is this little bear cub who looks super confident and ready for any battle. The middle stage looks like the previous stage powered up in an anime with this fire shooting out of both of its hands and out of the top of its head. Unlocked a new form, and again it looks like an anime protagonist, which just goes to show all the personality that's in this design. And the final stage is this huge fiery bear that looks like sort of a superhero to me, and you also might notice it. Let's get into some of the regular Pokemon you would find in this region. Stage of the Water-type starter has a personality. Electric fighting and poison, all of that makes sense to me and has great flavor. It's weak when attacking Fire Ghost and Steel. Let's get into some of the regular Pokemon you would find in this region. This is the first stage of the regional bird, and it's got a very clean design with great colors. This white and light blue look very good together. The middle stage becomes electric flying type. I love that typing, especially for a regional flying type. We did just get that in Generation 9, but this actually came out beforehand, so it's not like they stole it. And the color palette of this Pokemon gets even better with this added yellow. The final stage has the perfect amount of detail. All these Thunderbolt patterns are added. It has the same amazing color scheme, but wants this. Here's the first stage of a super unique 2-stage evolution. It's a rubber fighting type, and it's like this little martial arts ping pong paddle fight. Martial arts ping pong paddle fighter. The evolution has the same theme going, but now sort of so funny. Here's the first stage of a Dragon Ground type, and it's got this really unique body structure, and that's because it's actually supposed to represent a bridge, and it would actually go around helping trainers out by crossing gaps in mountains. Like it would lay there so the trainer can walk. Its evolution continues this, but is now this giant bridge dragon that could help a trainer cross anything. Here's the first stage of a fighting flying type. Love that typing, but I more so love the colors. Would tear you to shreds, and the overall design almost reminds me like a military outfit, which is a cool theme as well. Here's the first stage of a super colorful fish Pokemon. I feel like all the fish we get in the games are different shades of blue, so having a really colorful one like this is amazing, and it almost looks like a pre-evolution to Bruxish. But its evolution looks nothing like Bruxish, except they both have crazy color palettes. This has a crazy design. I don't even know what to make of it. It's also Poison Dark type. That typing is super cool because it only has one weakness to ground, and a lot of people don't think of the Poison Dark type as only having one weakness, but it does. Here's the first stage of a Steel Bug type, and it's supposed to be based off a certain kind of knife that has a curved blade. Here's the evolution. This kind of reminds me of Heracross and Pinsir at the same time. It also looks like a Brawlhalla character, so there's a lot to unpack here, but I think overall it's super good and would be another one of those really likable bug types. Here's the first stage of an electric grass type lizard. I love that typing. It's so rare, and I would love to see it on a Pokemon like this. Evolution is so clean, exactly the type of Pokemon I would add to my team. It's just very well done. These giant leaf wings, these huge talons, it's just instantly going on my team. Here's the first stage of what is actually the pseudo-legendary for the region. It's Dragon Rubber type, and I love seeing the brand new type put onto the pseudo-legendary. That's a great way to introduce it. The middle stage has a very goofy design. It's got these long rubbery limbs, and it looks like it would just whip itself around all over the place when it fights, but it also looks like it would be able to absorb any punch, again with the same rubbery body, so maybe it would be very physically defensive. The final stage sort of reminds me of Goodra, where it's a dragon type, but it sort of has a goofy theme, and I feel like just like Goodra, people are either going to love or hate this Pokemon. When a Pokemon's very outlandish like this, people either choose to love or hate it, and really no one's in the middle. I would love it. My overall score for the regular Pokemon that you'd find in this region is a 10 out of 10. I really couldn't find anything to be negative about. They are all amazing, fully realized, expressive, and unique designs. I really can't think of anything, and giving it a 9.5 just seems like a cop-out. When I can't find anything wrong, it's a 10 out of 10. I would love to catch everything in this region. Before we look at the box art legendaries, let's review the 4 Pokemon that would be exclusive to both versions of the game. This dark flying type bird Pokemon would be exclusive to Pokemon Abyss, and right out of the gate you can tell it has a sort of vampire aesthetic. The evolution continues this theme, clearly having an inspiration from Count Dracula, which I think is perfect, especially for Pokemon Abyss, because that seems sort of like the hellish evil version of the game, so to have the more evil looking bird is perfect. Here's the first stage of the other Pokemon that's exclusive to Pokemon Abyss, but this is actually another pseudo-legendary, so there are 3 pseudo-legendaries total in this game, 1 for each version, and then the middle one, which was that rubbery dragon. This one looks amazing though, Ghost Electric type, perfect typing, and it's almost like this see-through luminescent tiger. It has an amazing middle stage. Again, I love this whole luminescent vibe it has. It looks like it would be in the deep, dark portions of the game, but you would still be able to see it because its body is glowing. The final stage is so cool. Again, all I've said about the design is just magnified here. It's now this giant, vicious-looking tiger. This would definitely be my favorite of the 2. It's just awesome. Here's the first stage of the flying type that would be exclusive to Pokemon Peak. It's like this cosmic toucan. The evolution looks like Lunala and Toucannon had a baby. I love this. It looks like a legendary, but it's just a regular Pokemon, and I definitely think it's the better of the 2 exclusive flying types. Here's the exclusive pseudo-legendary for Pokemon Peak. It's Steel Psychic type, and again, it's like this tiger cub, but now it has a much different color palette with these blues, reds, and whites. The middle stage almost looks like it's wearing this sort of armor. The other pseudo-legendary looked like it had these ghostly drapes on, but this one looks like it's armored up for battle. The final stage is now this huge tiger with this giant spiked tail, and it also has these levitating spikes above its head. I'd like to imagine it uses those when it battles by zipping them around using its psychic powers, sort of like Yondu from Guardians. Now let's get into the box art legendaries. This is the box art of Pokemon Peak. It's fighting flying type, and it almost looks like a crazy mega evolution for Infernape, but at the same time, I almost think it's a One Piece reference. No spoilers, but that would make sense because it is Pokemon Peak. But I think I prefer the box art legendary of Pokemon Abyss. It fits its aesthetic a little more to me because it looks like this giant overworld ruler. It looks amazing, almost like a Yu-Gi-Oh card, which makes me like it even more. My overall score for the game's